Hi children, welcome to Easy Economics. Today in this class I am explaining the price and output determination in perfect competition. This topic belongs to 5th unit, first year topic, and it is very important for the final examination point of view. Important for 10 marks. Okay children, the topic belongs to unit 5 in first year, 5th unit. The topic is price and output determination in perfect competition. Okay, 100% guarantee question in the final examination for the 10 marks. Okay children, already in the previous class we studied the classification of the markets. So based on the competition, markets are classified into perfect competition and imperfect competition. Okay guys, now we are studying about the price and output determination in the perfect competitive market. So what is the meaning of the perfect competition? Children, generally according to dictionary meaning, competition means rivalry. But here perfect competition means it is having different meaning than the dictionary meaning of the word competition. So theoretically perfect competition means there is no rivalry among the firms. There is no rivalry among the firms. So perfect competition is characterized by large number of the buyers and sellers dealing with the same good and selling the same good with the same price, and all the buyers and sellers are having the perfect knowledge regarding the market. So these are the characteristics of the means perfect competitive market. So here competition means the meaning differs from the general meaning. Here perfect competition means there is no rivalry among the firms in the perfect competitive market. Children, first of all, you know the meaning about the firm and the industry. Firm means a single business concern. So industry means the group of the firms which are producing the same product are called the industry. For example, sugar industry, cotton industry, cloth industry, iron industry, like that children. The group of the firms which are producing the same good are called the industry. So now let me explain the characteristics of the perfect competitive market. First one is large number of buyers and sellers. In the perfect competitive market, the buyers are in large number and sellers also in large number. Okay, being considerable number of large number of buyers and sellers, no one is able to influence the market price. Okay, even a single buyer or a single seller is not able to influence the market price. So who will decide the market price? Who will decide the price for the product? Price is decided by the market forces. So what are called the market forces? Market forces are nothing but total supply and total demand are called the market forces. So in the perfect competitive market, total supply and total demand will decide the price of the product. Total supply means the supply by all the producers in the market is called the total supply. Total demand means the demand by all the consumers in the market for that commodity is called the total demand. In this way, by the collective forces of the total demand and the total supply, the price is decided in the perfect competitive market. So hence, even a single buyer or a single seller is not able to influence the price. For example, at the prevailing price, if one seller is not willing to sell his goods, so the market supply is not adversely affected. As the same way, at the prevailing price, a single buyer is not able to buy the commodity, so his action doesn't affect the market demand. Like that children, no one is able to influence the market demand and supply of the goods by their acts. For example, in the ocean, if we are getting some water, okay, with a pot we are getting the water from the ocean, so the water content will be depleted in the ocean? No, it doesn't affect the water level in the ocean. Like that, the individual's action, that is individual sellers or individual buyers action, are just like a single water drop in the ocean. So that is the reason price is decided by the total demand and total supply. These are called market forces. So the price which is decided by the total supply and total demand is accepted by the either the buyer or the seller. So hence in the perfect competitive market, firms are the price takers, not the price makers. Industry is the price maker, firms are the price takers. Means the price which is decided by the industry is accepted by the both buyers and sellers. That is the reason firm is the price taker in the perfect competitive market. The next one, homogeneity of the commodity. The goods which are produced by the perfect competitive firms are identical. Homogeneity means, the meaning of the word homogeneity means identical. All are same. For example, if all the firms are producing markers, all will produce this type of markers only. Okay. So it means the goods produced by the perfect competitive firms are perfect substitute, 100% substitutes. Instead of one, by using the other one also, we will get 100% of the same level of satisfaction. Okay. So all the firms will produce the same commodity with the color, quantity, size, quality, in all the manners they are the same. Okay children. So that is the reason, because of the homogeneity of the commodity, same price prevails for the goods in the market, and the cross elasticity of demand for the products of the perfect competitive firms is perfectly infinite, means infinite. Why? Because they are perfectly substitutes for the other. And next one, because of the homogeneity of the goods, all the means same price prevails throughout the market, and because of the same price for the products, average revenue and marginal revenue both are same, and both are lying in the same curve which is parallel to the x-axis. And third one, absence of artificial restrictions. So here a seller is able to sell his commodity to any of the buyer. There is no discrimination here. There are no restrictions in the market. As the same way, a buyer is able to buy the commodity from any of the seller in the market. Means there are no restrictions in the market, either from the government side or the seller side, or any of the organizations do not put restrictions in the market. That is the reason buyers and sellers are freely able to buy and sell the goods from anybody, from anyone else. Okay. Seller is able to sell his good to any of the buyer, and buyer also able to buy the commodity from any of the seller. So there are no restrictions. Next, free entry and free exit. To the new firms, children, when the industry is making the supernormal profits, okay, how we are able to realize the industry is getting the supernormal profits? Whenever the total revenue exceeds the total cost, so we are able to conclude that the firm is earning the supernormal profits, or the industry is earning the supernormal profits. So when the industry is earning the supernormal profits motivate the new firms to enter into the industry and to produce the goods. Generally, all will start the business for the motive of to earn the profits. So that is the reason, if industry is making supernormal profits, so definitely new entrepreneurs, new firms are motivated to enter into the industry. At the time of entry of the new firms, there are no restrictions. They are able to enter into the industry freely without any restrictions. And the same way, if the industry is in losses, so at that time, some inefficient firms will leave the industry. At that time also, there are no restrictions. So in this way, while the industry is earning the supernormal profits, the new firms are able to enter into the industry freely. If the industry is making losses, the inefficient firms, already the existing firms, inefficient firms are able to leave the industry. On the entry and on the exit of the firms, there are no restrictions. They are freely entering into the industry and freely leaving the industry without any restrictions. Next one, perfect mobility of factors of production and goods. Yes, children, factors of production means land, labor, capital and the organizer. These are called the factors of the production. So in the perfect competitive market, the factors of the production are able to move freely from one place to another place and one firm to another firm. Where the salaries, the remunerations are high, to that firm or to that place they are able to migrate. On the migration of the factors of production, there are no restrictions. No one could stop them. They are able to move freely from one place to another place or one firm to another firms. So generally, the factors of production will work where the salaries, remunerations are high. So in this way, in this market, there are no restrictions on the movement of the factors of the production. They are able to move freely from one firm to another firm, and where the remunerations are high, they will work there only. And as the same way, to the goods also, perfect mobility is there. Generally, the seller will sell his goods in the market. Generally, he thinks to gain the profits. That is the reason. So, where the price, in which market the price is high, so to that market, he is able to supply the goods, and he is able to sell the goods in the market where the prices are very high. So on the mobility of the goods and on the mobility of the factors of production, there are no restrictions. Next one, absence of transport cost. Children, economists assumed that whenever all the firms are producing the same good, for that reason uniform price, same price prevails for all the goods in the perfect competitive market. So that is the assumption. So here, for that reason, to prevail the same price for all the goods in the market, economists assume that absence of the transport cost. When the transport cost is absent, then only it is possible to rule the same price for all the goods. If transport cost is there, it is not possible to rule the same price. The reason is, children, in the price of the product, transport cost is included. Okay, for example, to the Karimnagar market, Karimnagar vegetable market, when the goods are, that is onions, think that onions are transported from the nearer places, okay, for example from Nizamabad, okay, so think that it is a nearer place. From Nizamabad, if the onions are transported to Karimnagar market yard, the transport cost will be low. Otherwise, from other state, from Kerala, okay, if the onions are, think that it is just the example, from Kerala if the onions are transported to the Karimnagar market, the transport cost will be high. Why? Because it is the other state, okay, and the distance also will be more and more from this place to this place. So that is the reason the onions which are transported from Nizamabad are having low transport cost. The onions which are transported from Kerala to Karimnagar market are having high transport cost. Okay, so selling the onions to the same price is not possible. Why? Because those who transported the onions from Kerala, they will charge the higher price. From Nizamabad, they will charge the lower price. So if transport cost is included in the price of the commodity, there is a possibility that is to charge the different prices. So that is the reason economists assumed that in the perfect competitive market, the same price prevails to all the goods in the market. That is the reason they assumed that absence of transport cost. Absence of transport cost means if the facilities are there for the free transfer of the goods from one place to another place, we have to assume like that. Okay. If the transport cost is absent, then only it is possible to rule the same price for all the goods. Next, perfect knowledge of the market. As guys, both buyers and sellers are having perfect knowledge regarding the market situations. So what are the market situations? About the price of the commodity and the quality of the commodity and quantity of the commodity also. Both the buyer and seller is having the complete knowledge. So that is the reason buyer doesn't pay the higher price for the product. If any seller is selling his product for the higher price than the market price, at that time buyer is not willing to buy from him. Why? Because buyer know the real price of the product. Okay, children, that is the reason. Whenever the buyers and sellers are having perfect knowledge about the market conditions, So no seller will sell their product for the higher price, and no buyer is willing to buy the product at the higher price. Okay guys, so these are the characteristics of the perfect competitive market. Children, generally examples of the perfect competitive market are share market and the agricultural products. But actually the all conditions, including all conditions, perfect market condition is doesn't exist in the real world. This market situation is a myth, can't be found in the real world. Okay, so but in the theory it is given, so we have to study about this. So it doesn't found in the real world, it is a myth. Okay guys, and we studied the characteristics of the perfect competitive market and how the price and output is decided in the perfect competitive market. Children, already we studied here, that is, being the large number of buyers and sellers, no buyer and seller is able to influence the price of the product. The price of the commodity is decided by the acts of the total demand and total supply. Okay, before that, before Marshall is the classical economist. Before Marshall, some economists thought that only supply will deciding the price of the commodity, and some argued that only demand is deciding the price of the commodity. But Marshall stated that to cut a piece of cloth, the two blades of the scissor are essential. Okay, with one blade we are unable to cut the piece of the cloth. So to cut the piece of the cloth, two blades of a scissor are compulsory. So like that, here also, to decide the price of the commodity, both the demand and supply are essential. By the interaction of the total demand, total supply, only the price is decided in the market. Okay, this is stated by the Alfred Marshall. Alfred Marshall gave the equal priority to total demand and total supply to decide the price of the commodity. And total demand and total supply are also called market forces. So in the perfect competitive market, total demand, total supply will decide the price of the commodity. So in which situation the total supply and the total demand are equal, that is called the equilibrium price and the equilibrium output. Children, equilibrium means a state of balance. Okay, from that place the producers are not willing to move to, that is to charge either higher price or lower price. At that price, no unsatisfied buyer and no unsatisfied seller. The price is means buyer and sellers are willing to, buyers are willing to buy the product at that price and sellers also willing to sell their product at that price. No one is unsatisfied at that price. Okay, so now we will study about the price determination under perfect competitive market. Children, the different, already in the table I had given different prices. Okay, 10 rupees price is shown in the rupees, 10 rupees, 20, 30, 40, 50. At different prices, the quantity supplied also differs, quantity demanded also differs. Children, in the previous units already you studied about the law of supply and law of demand. Okay, so according to the law of supply, there is a direct relation between price and supply of the commodity. At lower price, the sellers are not willing to supply more goods. Why? Because at lower price, by selling more goods, they will get the losses. Generally, the producer's intention is to gain the profits. That is the reason at higher price only they are willing to supply more goods into the market. So hence, at lower price, quantity supplied also will be low. Quantity supplied will be shown in kgs. Okay, at 10 rupees price, 20 kgs were supplied into the market. If price is increasing, the quantity supplied also will increase. These are the imaginary digits, children. And at 30 rupees price, quantity supplied will be 40 kgs. And if the price is increasing, the quantity supplied also increases. And at 50 rupees price, 60 kgs were supplied into the market. Children, in between the price and quantity supplied, there is a direct relation. That is, lower the price of the product, lower the quantity supplied into the market. And higher the price of the product, higher the quantity supplied into the market. Okay, the main motive of the producer is to gain profits. So when he is able to gain the profits, whenever the price is high, by selling the output at the higher price only, he is able to gain the profits. So hence, at higher price, he will supply more goods into the market. At lower price, he will supply the lower quantity of the goods. So in this way, this table explains the that is direct relationship between the price and quantity supplied of the commodity. And now what about the quantity demanded? Already you people studied the law of demand also. Okay, so according to law of demand, there is an inverse relation between price and quantity demanded. At lower price, quantity demanded will be high. Why? Because consumers think rationally. Okay, so that is the reason at lower price only we will demand more and more. And based on law of DMU also, by having the same commodity more and more units, our MU will diminish. So hence, at lower price only we are able to demand more of the same commodity. So hence, at lower price we will demand more. If price is going, that is increasing, going high, so the quantity demanded will fall. At 30 rupees price, 40 units were demanded. At 40 rupees price, only 30 kgs were demanded. At 50 rupees price, only 20 kgs were demanded. So in this way, children, in between the price and quantity demanded, there is a inverse relation. Means, children, higher the price, means lower the price, higher the quantity demanded. And higher the price, lower the quantity demanded. So this table explains two types of relationship. One is the two laws. That is, one is law of supply. Okay. So according to law of supply, there is a direct relation between price and quantity supplied. Lower the price, lower the quantity supplied. Higher the price, higher the quantity supplied. And according to law of demand, there is an inverse relation between price and quantity demanded. Lower the price, higher the quantity demanded. Higher the price, lower the quantity demanded. So in this way, children, in this table, we are able to that is realize the two laws, that is law of supply and law of demand. So whatever it may be, at 30 rupees price, we can find that both quantity demanded and supplied and demanded will become the same. Okay. So at which price both quantity demanded and quantity supplied are same, that is called the equilibrium price. Whenever quantity demanded will be equals to quantity supplied, that is called the situation is called the equilibrium. Equilibrium means a state of balance. No one is willing to move from that place. Okay guys, 30 rupees price is called the equilibrium price. 40 kgs quantity is called the equilibrium quantity. Okay. So what about that is above the equilibrium? Ante above అని చెప్పండి, ఇక్కడ below అని చెప్పాలి. 30 rupees కదా, so below the equilibrium. Table లో, in the table above. Okay, but generally below the equilibrium price means it is a 30 rupees na. In this area at 10 and 20 rupees price, ikkada demand exceeds, demand is more than supply. Okay guys, and at 40 and 50 rupees price, supply is more than demand. Supply is more than demand. Okay, at 30 rupees price only quantity supplied and demanded both are equal. So what happens when the quantity supplied and demanded are not equal? So what happens to the price? Okay, let me explain. Children, at 10 and 20 rupees price, demand is more than the supply. For example, markers are only 20 markers are ready for sale in the market, but the buyers are 60 buyers are there. 60 buyers are there, but the markers are only 20. Okay, but the people ready to purchase, ready to buy are 60. So at that time, due to low amount of supply of the goods, buyers will compete with each other to buy the commodity. Okay, whenever the quantity supplied is less than the demand or the demand is more than the supply, means people are ready to buy more but the supply is less. So at that time, buyers will compete with each other to buy the good. So due to competition in between the or among the buyers, the price will increase and goes up to 30 rupees. Okay, because of the competition among the buyers, price will rise and it will goes to 30 rupees. And what about at 40 and 50 rupees price? Here, at higher price, by selling more quantity, the producer will get the profits. Hence, the supply is more. but the consumers are not willing to demand more goods at the higher price. Hence, demand is low. So here, supply is more than demand. Okay, sellers are ready to sell more goods, but the buyers are not ready to buy more goods. So, whenever the supply is more than demand, at that time, the sellers will compete with each other to sell their goods. Okay, the sellers will compete. Why? Because the buyers are very less in amount, but the goods are more to sell, ready to sell in the market. So hence, suppliers, that is sellers, will compete with each other, and the competition among the sellers will lead to the fall in the price, and price will fall to 30 rupees. So in the 30 rupees price, quantity supplied and demanded both are equal. So at this price, no unsatisfied buyer and no unsatisfied seller, all are agreeing for the price. So that is the reason, children, when the price is less than the equilibrium price, or the price is more than the equilibrium price, because of the competition between the buyers and sellers, that is because of the acts of the total demand and total supply, finally the price will be fixed at the 30 rupees. Okay, that is where the total supply and total demand equals. Okay guys, so we studied the equilibrium price determination with the help of this table, and the information which is furnished in this table, using this we are able to study the price determination in the perfect competition with the help of the diagram. Okay children, in the diagram, on x-axis quantity supplied and demanded are shown. On y-axis price will be shown. Guys, according to law of supply, there is a direct relation between price and quantity supplied. So that is the reason supply curve, whenever there is a direct relation between price and quantity supplied, supply curve will be sloping upwards from left to right. It is called the positive slope. And according to law of demand, there is inverse relation between price and quantity demanded. So hence, the demand curve slopes downwards from left to right. Okay, whenever there is an inverse relation between price and demand, so at that time the demand curve will be sloping downwards from left to right. So where the demand and supply curves are intersecting each other, that is called the equilibrium. Okay, so from that equilibrium point, if you are drawing a straight line towards the horizontal axis, it indicates the quantity. And we have to draw a straight line towards the y-axis, it indicates the price. Okay guys, so here the equilibrium price is 30 rupees and the equilibrium quantity is, children, 40 kgs. Okay, in this way, by the interaction of the supply and demand curves, the equilibrium price is decided. Equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity are decided. Okay, so at this price and at this quantity, no unsatisfied buyer and no unsatisfied seller. It is called the market clearing price. All are accepted for this price. Okay, and equilibrium is state of balance. And if you are observing above the equilibrium point, so supply exceeds demand. In this area, supply exceeds demand. Okay, in this area below the equilibrium price, demand exceeds supply. Again, if demand is more than supply, then the buyers will compete with each other and price will goes to 30 rupees. And if supply is more than demand, sellers will compete with each other and they will reduce the price to 30 rupees. Okay, finally the price will be fixed at the 30 rupees where quantity supplied and demanded are equal. So in this way, by the collective actions of the total demand and total supply, the market, that is price, is decided in the perfect competitive market. Okay, so once remember, equilibrium is a state of balance. No one is willing to move from this place. Yes. If you like this video, do subscribe and share it and like it. Thank you.